know, the guys, and they were all guys who ran big American companies, GM, Ford, Sears, those things. They paid themselves about 20 to 30 times the wage of the average worker. Today, that's 300 to 400 times. Japan doesn't do that. Germany doesn't do that. The UK doesn't do that. America does that.
2 in 3 Americans now say that they worry more about running out of money than dying in this country.
I would not complain that my CEO is making all this money. If I had an issue with that, I would go start something. I would go create something. I would go create means for me to go and make more money if that's what I wanted to do.
Hello, and welcome to the channel. Please like and subscribe to help us grow, and tell me where you are watching from in the comment section. So, I'm watching CNN's NewsNight, and I have to ask, at what point does executive compensation stop being a market reward and start being a straight-up heist to the working class? Because while you're out here debating whether you can afford an extra $9 for a special experience latte, your CEO is literally taking a private jet to commute to work. Not a business trip, a commute. Wait, they're really defending billionaires and premium experiences while people can't afford rent? It's not just a disparity, it's a moral failure. And today, we're going to break down exactly how they're gaslighting you into thinking this is normal capitalism. Let's get real. The numbers from 2026 aren't just bad. They're dystopian. Since 2019, while real worker wages, the money that actually pays for your groceries, have declined by 12%, CEO pay has surged by 54%. Think about that. You're working harder, you're dealing with inflation that's eating your paycheck alive, and meanwhile, at the top, they're just printing money. It's not just about the money, it's about power. When the top 1% owns as much wealth as the bottom 90%, democracy doesn't stand a chance. We're moving from a society to an oligarchy, and people on these panels are still trying to tell us it's just the market.
Tonight, income inequality is skyrocketing, and the rift between the haves and the have-nots, both in the United States and all around the world, continues to grow into a chasm. According to a new study, the pay of America's CEOs rose 20 times faster than workers in 2025. And while the average global CEO pocketed $8.4 million in pay and bonuses last year, it would take the average global worker 490 years to earn the same amount. Adjusted for inflation, global worker pay fell 12%, while real CEO pay surged 54% between 2019 and 2025. But as CEOs use their increasingly growing power to undermine workers' rights, one of them is defending that $9 latte that you had the other day.
What we're seeing is people, they want to have a special experience. And regardless of what your income level is, in some cases, a $9 experience does feel like you're splurging. And then what that means is we have to make it worthwhile, right? And then in other cases, people believe, well, this is a really affordable premium experience because they're saying like, well, it's less than $10.
I feel like to fully appreciate what he just said, you might also want to know that the CEO of Starbucks was given a private jet to commute to his office from his home in California.
Did you hear that? A remote office in his home and a private jet. Let that sink in. We have corporate HR departments that will fire you if you're 5 minutes late from a lunch break. But if you're the CEO, you get an office in your backyard and a literal jet to avoid the traffic. This is the personal responsibility they love to preach, right? Must be nice to have your personal responsibility subsidized by a corporate fleet.
He is going 1,000 miles away, presumptively as often as he wants, and he's got a big old corporate jet in order to do that. And he's asking you to pay for a very special experience in a $9 cup of coffee.
Well, that video was not a premium experience. I'll start there. That was really cringeworthy. I am curious to know, I don't go to Starbucks often, but I'm curious to know if the premium experience is the barista writing your name incorrectly on the cup. Is it the people that squat there all day long and turn it into their home and office? Is it the really bad coffee? I don't know. I'm very curious about it. But to those who are complaining, every time I walk by Starbucks, every time I drive by Starbucks, there is a line as long as the eye can see. people still go. They want their fix. They're willing to pay. So we can't complain unless we use our power as consumers and say, you know what? I can make a cheaper, better cup of coffee at home, and I'm going to do that. But people want to pay for convenience.
Yeah.
too.
I mean, I guess the thing is, fine. I guess if you have a business model that says $9 for coffee, which they do, is fine. Then the other side of that, so what are you doing for your workers? I think the part that Americans don't like is where they feel, gypped on the other end, on the salary end, on the benefits end, on the ability to sort of provide for their families, that part.
Abby, I'll take a different approach to that because I believe that we live in the greatest country on the face of the planet, and there's unlimited opportunity here for anybody who's willing to work hard and go after it. If you're upset about this and how much your CEO makes, go launch your own Starbucks, go launch your own company, go
not that
create
easy.
competition. Of course, it's not that easy, but it's never that easy to start a company or something. So anyone in this country, like I said, who's willing to work hard and apply themselves, go become Starbucks competition and sell $7 premium experiences and undercut your competition.
Oh, please. A $9 coffee experience. They're literally trying to sell you a vibe to distract you from the fact that they're squeezing the life out of their workforce. If the experience is so premium, how about you share some of that premium profit with the people making the coffee? But no, they'd rather spend millions on private aviation security than a single extra dollar on a living wage. It's not an experience. It's exploitation with a fancy logo.
I don't think that I wouldn't complain. I would just say, if I don't like it, I'll go start my own thing.
I think. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
I'd prefer if Abby asked the questions, but sure, you can ask the question.
I mean,
It's okay. We can talk to each other here.
do you think that it's insane to say that Starbucks should raise their wages for their workers? Is that insane to say as a concept?
I think that I believe in free markets, and if a private company sets their wages what they are, then that's what they are. And if you don't like the wage,
You support the minimum wage?
if you don't like the wage, don't go work there.
You support
I've
the minimum
applied for
wage?
hundreds of jobs where they didn't meet my minimum I wanted to make, and I didn't go work there. And it was as simple as that.
You also don't have the affordability, or you have the affordability, most likely, to say no to some things.
Sure.
Some people have to take jobs that don't pay the living wage to keep up with rising inflation. And they are in these positions. And I think to Abby's point, what you're seeing is workers at these companies are just not getting paid for what they should be. And then you see these CEOs getting these extravagant, enormous bonuses. And that is the choice of the company.
Right, it's
but
the
I
choice
think
of
there
the company.
has to be some type of conversation that we have of
Yeah.
raising the federal minimum wage and and giving workers more benefits
I appreciate
so that they
that.
can be competitive in the
I
marketplace.
appreciate that. My mother worked 3 jobs when we were coming up. And if something didn't pay more, she would either go get another job or she would work hard to achieve so she could go make more money.
But
it's not as simple as
it's not really about the math.
just telling a CEO what they can do with their
But
business.
but it's not really about the math and the economics. It's about values, right? So not long ago, the guys, and they were all guys who ran big American companies, GM, Ford, Sears, those things. They paid themselves about 20 to 30 times the wage of the average worker. Today, that's 300 to 400 times. Japan doesn't do that. Germany doesn't do that. The UK doesn't do that. America does that because the values shifted from what's best for the company to how do I drive the stock price up and get as much of that as I can. And the notion that so much of it is going to so few people is one of the reasons we got Trump.
And I want to piggyback off of that because largely we understand that when Trump was running for president, he said that he was going to raise the wages for all these workers all across America. But real wage growth is 80% less than what it was. So that's the real facts. So if you make a campaign promise that you're going to raise wages for workers all across this country and you do not deliver on that, then who does that fall on?
Well, I don't think the president's point was he was going to go tell private enterprise that you have to pay people.
He said he was
more.
going to create the economic conditions to do so. Has he done
but
that?
That doesn't mean that he was going to go invade businesses, boardrooms, and say you have to pay your
Did he
employees
create
more.
the economic conditions
Look,
to go and do
we
that?
can,
He's
you
telling
can, you can
businesses
spin this
who to
all
have
the
on
way you
air.
want. The president of the United States is not going to, he didn't make a promise to go and invade boardrooms and tell companies, private
Well, hold
companies,
on.
how much they should pay their employees.
One thing he did do was say that he was going to make life more affordable. And as we pointed out, most Americans say that they don't think that that's where it's headed. He said he would bring prices down. We all knew that that wasn't going to happen because that's not really how prices work. Inequality continues to go up. He talked about bringing down government spending. I couldn't let the day pass without this headline. The Trump Qatari gifted Air Force One is almost delivered, it sounds like. $400 million of taxpayer dollars to give the president a more luxurious ride in the midst of this conversation that we're having, in which 2 in 3 Americans now say that they worry more about running out of money than dying in this country. Look, I think the question I had for you, because I mean, I hear a lot of people talk about 2 or 3 jobs, but is that what we want in America?
Right. For
a mother to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to keep her family afloat? I take it that that is an extraordinary thing that your mother did and that many of our families have done. But is that what we want for the future of this country?
I mean, look, that's a point that's taken. I think mothers like mine and others at this table do what they have to do to go and provide for their families. And my father also, for the record, worked several jobs as well. But my point that I'm making is simply this. I would not complain that my CEO is making all this money. If I had an issue with that, I would go start something. I would go create something. I would go create memes.
Look, it doesn't have to be this way. This isn't a law of nature. It's a policy choice. We have the power to fix this, but it requires us to stop buying the lie that this system is efficient. We need real solutions. Binding limits on CEO to worker pay ratios. Asterisk taxing extreme wealth. Not just income, but the wealth that's being hoarded. Strengthening unions so workers have a seat at the table. This isn't radical. It's basic economic justice. A healthy society doesn't have people going hungry while others are buying a second private jet. I'm tired of watching these segments and just nodding along.